As we go through life's journey, we all face hurdles, obstacles, struggles, fears, and setbacks. However, as we experience the peaks and valleys of life, one truth remains, that God loves us. At times, we may feel alone and unloved, and that no one else has experienced what we are going through or have been through. For those who have experienced overcoming the darker times in life, they can tell you that you are not alone and that God is there for you. Isaiah 41:10 is a great reminder that we are not alone. It reads, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." Not only will God be there for you, but other Christians will be as well if you look to them for support. Often we forget other Christians struggle as well, and Satan wants us to think we are stranded, isolated, and alone. Sure, we can go online and hear stories of victory, but what about people who walk among us? Well, the church at Stop 9 is full of amazing people with amazing testimonials, and we are excited to bring them to you now as we present our stories.
This is Heath Dawson, Communications Director for Stop 9 Church of Christ. We are excited to bring you our stories. We pray that you will draw inspiration from our stories and it will strengthen you and your faith. There are so many people in our congregation who have overcame life's hurdles to get where they're at today. We hope our stories will help you in a current or a past situation. One thing we know is that God is on his throne, he is in control, and most importantly, he cares about you. Thanks everyone, and enjoy our stories. Hello and welcome to another edition of Our Stories here at Stop 9 Church of Christ. Today we have one of our members here, and she is going to share a little bit about her story and herself. So first, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Judy Miller. I grew up in the church. I was baptized when I was 14 at White Rock Church of Christ in Dallas, Texas. I've been a member of Stop 9 ever since I moved to Ohio in 1980.
Okay, and family or anything, Judy?
I've been married to Brent Miller for 38 years, and we have 4 daughters. Natalie and her husband Clark, who are members here, Jay, our daughter Katrina and her husband Jay, and then our daughter Erica, who are also all members here. And then we have a daughter, Hillary, and her husband Braden, who live in California.
Awesome. Well, thanks for telling us a little bit about yourself and your family. So we understand today that you have a story to tell us, maybe some of the trials and tribulations you've gone through in your life to come to know Jesus Christ. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your story today?
Well, as I said, I grew up in the church, and so God and Jesus have always been a part of my life, and then our lives together when I married Brent. And I think my specific story that I'm here to share today, I know as I look back over my life, I can see so many times where Jesus and God led me in a direction that I didn't necessarily want to go. I mean, I can think back as early as when I first started college and pledging a club and not getting into the popular club that I wanted to get into, and then later realizing God did that for me because I needed to be somewhere else where I could grow more through him. I think back about Woody and Tommy's lesson yesterday. That was so much of what I was thinking when you contacted me about doing this was, we can't do this by ourselves. We have to have God, and we have to have a church community. And there's so many things that we struggle with on a daily basis. And big sins, little sins. I know the things that I struggle with. I struggle with being prideful and selfish. I like, I want to have things my way. And for the longest time, I think I would get upset because people weren't doing things for me And maybe not, other people may not have seen that, but in my heart, I'm like, well, why didn't you do that for me when you did that for that person? And I think when I was diagnosed with GBS, which is Guillain-Barre Syndrome, in May of 2015, I think God was telling me, you know what, you need to stop looking inward and start looking outward with that. And with that disease, it put me in a position where I could not do anything for myself. It's a disease that affects your nervous system, and it starts in your feet, and it causes paralysis that travels up your body, and it can go to varying extent in different people. And mine had progressed to the point eventually where I was in a neuro ICU unit. I couldn't move anything. I couldn't talk or eat because I was intubated. And just all of the things that God sent into my life and all of the people that He sent into my whole family's life through all of that. One of the things that Woody said yesterday was, God will not give us more than He can bear. And we saw God working all around us through all of that. He sent so many people from this church family to support my family. When I did make it to the rehab hospital, Dodd Hall there at the OSU campus, I was wheelchair bound. I couldn't walk. I couldn't even move my hands or my arms. So I couldn't do anything for myself. So that was a very humbling time to be in that position. And they have people there at the hospital that their job was to wheel patients to their therapies and things like that. But it was one of those things where there was just more people that needed help than what they had to wheel people around. And so my family asked for volunteers from this church family. And it was amazing the number of people who volunteered, and people would come and sit with me. And, of course, the nurses would get me up and put me in the wheelchair, and they had a special lift that they'd strap me into the sling, and I'd fly through the air over to the wheelchair, and they'd drop me down into the wheelchair. And so then they would be there to take me to my therapies because I couldn't even move my hands or my arms to even wheel myself anywhere. And I remember when the very first day someone from church came was Deidre Doherty. And it just, I don't know, I didn't really know Deidre. She knew my daughter Erica, and they were good friends, but she didn't know me. But yet she sacrificed that time, and there were so many people that came, and so many people I don't remember them being there because a lot of times I was not real with it. Certain people I remember. I remember the day that Lanita Powers and Irma Inley were there, because they were there after I was with my speech therapist, and they had wheeled me down there, and it had been weeks since I had had anything in my mouth, water, food, anything. Because of the trach, I hadn't been able to speak, I hadn't been able to eat. And that day in speech therapy, she said, "We're gonna try something today." And she handed me an orange popsicle. And that would have not been my first choice of a popsicle, but my, did that taste so good. And Lanita and Irma were there to share that special time with me. And then there was a time that Sharon Love came, the recreational therapist. She would put together field trips. So I had not been outside of the hospital. I had been in a power chair for, I can't even remember how long I'd been using a power chair, but I wasn't real good at it. So I was very nervous about having to go out in public, and I was very self-conscious too. And Sharon came along and escorted me and was with me that day. And she was even there to clean up my mess when one of my worst fears came true. They took us to the OSU Student Center, and we had to go into the bookstore. So I had to maneuver between aisles, and I did run into a shelf. Luckily, it was only a display of t-shirts, and Sharon had to clean up my mess after me. But just so thankful for so many people that were there during that time and sent cards and sent gift cards and, things to help my family out because they were spending a lot of time at the hospital and driving back and forth, and it just amazed me, gas cards and food cards and just all the support that we had in that way as well through all of that. And then after I came home, we had several ladies who came to the house when people in my family couldn't be there because I couldn't do for myself. I was still in a wheelchair and still unable to walk or anything like that. And so I had Bev Snyder and Lori Mercer and Rachel Strasser and Susie Gibson and other people who came and would stay with me during the day. And there's just the one thing I want to tell everyone is you need a church community. As Woody said, we're going to go through things. We're not guaranteed a carefree life. No one's guaranteed a carefree life. But I just encourage people to make friends within the church and have people within the church family to lean on and to support them. I have a couple of scriptures that I want to share that have helped me just to keep my thoughts on God. One is Psalm 119:50. This is my comfort in my affliction, that his promise gives me life. And those promises of God that can keep us going. And Jeremiah 17:7-8. Blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord, whose trust is the Lord. He is like a tree that is planted by the water, that sends out its roots by the stream, and not fear when heat comes, for its leaves remain green, and is not anxious in the year of drought, for it does not cease to bear fruit. So just leaning on God to get through those trials, and I know that's one reason that I was put in this position. I needed to take the time to look at myself and realize that I'm basically an okay person, but I need to work on those sins of pride and selfishness, and instead of looking at what people can do for me, what can I do for others, which I'm still looking, what's my thing I can do well, but just reaching out to others and helping them with their burdens.
Well, Judy, that's an awesome story, and we just want to thank you so much. And you said you're just an okay person. We all here at Stop 9 think you're a fantastic and a great person, so I know you've always been good to me in my whole life, so I'm thankful for my relationship with you. In the last minute here, why don't you tell us briefly, real fast, we know that you are a disciple of Jesus Christ. Tell us what he means to you in your life and just how important that walk is with him daily.
That's so important in having people to study with, even in the times that we're in now where we can't be together, but just being connected with other women and reading the Bible together with them, and just daily learning to depend on him more and more, and letting him have control.
Well, Judy, we want to thank you for taking time and stepping out in faith and being brave and sharing your story. We know that now that you're up and you can walk with your walker now, so that's amazing to see God working in your life, and hopefully this will inspire someone else. We know it will. Thanks again for sharing your story today.